We know that winter is just around the corner, and for some of us, it's the longest season to get through. And on today's show, we're going to give you some tips on how to stay healthy, happy, and safe. Welcome to this week's xConnect Northwest, connecting you to the experts. I'm your host, Greg Mills. Today, we're joined by Dr. Dennis Garcia of WSU's Health and Wellness Services. And it's great, of course, to have you back with us on set. I can't wait to talk to you about the questions that we have for you today. If you want to get in touch with us during the show, by all means, chime in with your questions. All you have to do to connect with us, you can do that on Twitter at NWPTV. You can use the hashtag xConnectNW. Facebook, search for Northwest Public Television, or by email at kwsutv@wsu.edu. Dr. Garcia, again, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It is great to have you back. Today we're talking about some tips about a few things, all centering around winter time and safety. And here we are kind of on the doorstep of winter. It comes a little bit earlier than the calendar tells us, usually in our part of the nation here. And we know it can be tough for some people, especially older people. What tips do you have for us to stay happy and healthy?
Yeah, several things that I think are important for everybody to consider when winter starts to roll around, and that is to try to maintain your exercise routine. You're a lot more active when it's warm outside, but try to find a way to stay active, because I think it boosts your mood. It helps keep you in shape, keeps you from feeling sluggish, and so most importantly, just kind of keep your exercise routine up.
If you're somebody who exercises predominantly outside, if you're a walker or an outside runner, sometimes maybe that's a bit of a tough transition for people, and you don't have a gym membership maybe. Is it a little more difficult to kind of figure out how to get your exercise done? I mean, I know it's doable, but
yeah, it can be, and that's where, my advice to people is pay attention to the weather report, because if you are going to go outside, look to see if things are freezing or not, because you sure don't want to slip and fall on the ice. A lot of malls open up, so you can mall walk, which is a safe, warm place to get your exercise in, and you can still socialize at the same time, so that's not a bad thing. Of course, there's exercise machines. If you're in your own house, walking up and down your stairs, if you have stairs inside your home, that's a real good exercise for people to do, because it really helps with your balance, your strength. It keeps you from shuffling, which we tend to do as we get older, is to walk stairs.
Got it. What about mental health? I mean, that can certainly have an effect on your physical health as well. How do we keep our mental disposition up?
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health can be tough in the wintertime when you lose your sunshine. And there's several things that are helpful. One I always say is, if the sun is out shining, go get some of it. You can sit by a window sometimes and get sun exposure that way, but a relatively inexpensive alternative is what we call a full spectrum lamp. You can have a full spectrum lamp like a study lamp that you would read a magazine or a book or do crosswords, whatever it is you like to do, in front of that full spectrum light. And those tend to give you natural sunlight that tends to stimulate the sunshine, so that it kind of keeps your serotonin levels up and keeps you happy.
Is there a sort of a base amount of time that a person should get as far as exposure, whether it was a sun lamp or actual sunlight from outside?
Yeah, from the sun lamps, my understanding is about an hour a day will keep the doctor away, or the blues away, we should say. So about an hour a day. As far as natural sunlight is concerned, I've been told anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of natural sunlight is effective.
And this time of year, I mean, during the summer months, of course, we're putting sunscreen on. During this time of year, when the sun gets so low on the horizon, and farther away, do we not have to worry about that so much? We want to be able to absorb the rays.
Yeah, the sun in the wintertime is less intense. There's probably only about an hour a day where it's pretty intense, and depending on where you're at in the northern hemisphere, but somewhere around 1 to 2 o'clock is when it tends to be the most intense. But chances are it's going to be cold. You're going to be relatively bundled up. You don't need to use a lot of sunscreen in the wintertime. But again, take that with a word of caution, and protect your skin at all times.
Let's talk about vitamin D. We're on, sunshine obviously is one way to get that. What about vitamin D in supplement form, and how important is that to maintaining some balance in your mental health?
Yeah, vitamin D is real important. Obviously, in the summertime, we've encouraged all of our patients to use sunscreens so that they don't develop skin cancer. But at the same time, it's blocking vitamin D absorption naturally from the sunshine. So you should take a vitamin D supplement on a regular basis. And most people should also be taking calcium. And most calcium supplements have vitamin D in them. Usually, it's only about 400 units or milligrams, depending on how it's measured. But you probably should consider taking closer to 1,000 to 2,000 units of vitamin D a day during the winter months, because it also helps give you energy, helps you feel better, keeps your immune system boosted.
So if you're taking a one-a-day vitamin, a multivitamin for instance, it sounds like you're going to need to supplement perhaps for calcium and for vitamin D outside of that. Am I reading that right?
Absolutely. A multivitamin doesn't have sufficient amounts of vitamin D in it or calcium. It's usually good with your basic minerals and vitamin C, but you want to supplement calcium and vitamin E on top of that.
And I suppose as another part of that conversation, and we can maybe get into it a little bit more, but you know, getting fresh vegetables and that sort of is a lot easier if oftentimes we're pulling it out of our own gardens and we're going and getting that out of stands in this part of the world because we've got fresh vegetables available to us. That becomes a little bit more difficult in the wintertime. Do you have to pay some special attention to how you're eating?
Yeah, it's helpful. When it's cold and you're chilled, you want comfort food, and comfort food tends to be things that warm you up. So you want to kind of make sure you still try to find vegetables in your diet, fruits. Nowadays, with cold storage mechanisms that the farmers have, you can still usually get fruits quite readily in the wintertime, and that's helpful. Frozen vegetables are better than no vegetables, so that works as well.
So we do have we have a lot of outdoor activities during the wintertime because of the weather, specifically if you've got snow and ice involved. We've got some safety issues and hazards that present themselves. How do we go about being safe during the winter months when we're going to continue to be outside and doing outside activities?
Right, you know, as we always say, prevention is the key. And prevention is the best medicine. And so if you know you're going to be outdoors, again, check your local weather, see what the wind chill is, make sure you're protected from frostbite. Fortunately here we don't have usually frigid cold weather that will expose your skin to frostbite conditions very readily here, but it does happen occasionally. Having an emergency kit in your car if you're traveling, something like a blanket, a flashlight, emergency water, those are smart things to have because you never know when you might hit some black ice on your travels and end up in the ditch, and it might be a while before someone comes by to see you. I think if you're traveling by yourself, it's really smart to let someone know where you're going, what your route is going to be, when you expect to arrive. That way, if you're a few hours late, they know to start looking for you and where to look for you. And if you're in the middle of a blizzard, well, it can be deadly.
What are some of the things that you should carry for safety in the wintertime? Do you need to bring a sleeping bag with you in your car, or how prepared do you need to be? You
know, it may sound silly, but that's actually a really good idea. Have an old sleeping bag in the trunk of your car. A snow shovel, actually, or a small shovel, like they call them avalanche shovels that a lot of the snowboarders will use. Those are handy to use because sometimes you can dig yourself out of a problem that you might be in. That's a good idea. The emergency blanket is the same thing as a sleeping bag. Extra water, maybe some dry good provisions in your glove compartment, or make yourself a safety kit and keep it in the trunk of your car.
Yeah, something you could probably search for online and get a reasonable list of things to put together.
Correct. Something and most importantly, if you do end up stranded, don't leave your car, because it's a whole lot easier to spot your car than it is to spot you out in the middle of a field. The mistake most people make, saying, well, it looks like there's a house only a mile away, but who knows what's between you and that house a mile away.
How are our immune systems holding up during the winter months? Do we put some more strain on them? We're stuck indoors, maybe kind of recirculating the same germs over and over, not getting out quite as often. What do we do there as far as staying healthy and some things to keep in mind?
Yeah, in the wintertime, it is a known fact that I think our immune system can get compromised because vigorous physical activity or aerobic activity helps boost your immune system, and eating fresh fruits and vegetables boosts your immune system. So you do want to try and maintain that as best as you can. Things to think about are getting that regular exercise, stimulating your body. Washing your hands frequently, though, again, like we'd spoken about with flu prevention or influenza prevention. And getting fresh air. Fresh air helps, airing out your house.
And the cold temperatures obviously can cause some pretty serious health problems. And as an adjunct to that question about sort of being stuck indoors, as if people wind up getting the flu or have other health problems, what steps can we take to keep ourselves healthy in the midst of that, and just to keep ourselves warm and make sure that we're doing the right things to keep ourselves healthy in a general way?
You know, maintaining a regular schedule, getting enough sleep is helpful. Again, I might sound like a broken record because we're saying the same thing again and again. You know, maintain your exercise routine. Try to have healthy meals. Again, just staying active, getting some sunshine, making sure you're dressed appropriately. If you know, one thing that we frequently do is we become so familiar with our own individual environment that, for example, if you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and of course it's dark, and you don't want to turn the light on because you don't want to wake your spouse or your loved one that's in the same room, but that's how you end up tripping and falling and hurting yourself.
How do we deal with that? A fall, a 911 situation perhaps, but how about, you know, indoor injuries? Tell us about how to keep ourselves safe that way.
Right, things that are different in the wintertime than maybe in the summertime for a lot of us is we might be wearing slippers or socks, and if we're walking on carpeted surfaces, you can easily slip down some stairs that are carpeted. So again, being extra careful, having socks or slippers that have a rubber bottom so they're not so slippery on carpet. Being careful about throw rugs. Obviously, when you come in from the outdoors, you've got wet snow on the bottom of your shoes and you don't want to collect it in your house, but throw rugs are real big trip hazards for many people. And as we get older, we tend to shuffle a fair amount instead of lift our feet up or our legs. And boy, you can shuffle right into a little throw rug and send yourself into the furniture. And a good way to hurt yourself. Yeah.
Do you need to have some sort of plan in mind, particularly as you get on in years, a plan as to how you're going to handle that if something happens? I guess specifically if you live alone or you know, don't have as much ease to get to a phone or whatever. Is there a plan that a person should put together?
Yeah, one place to start would be with your own personal physician. Most physicians do have resources to give you the information to help make your living environment a trip safe place, less health hazards. Simple things, putting in railing in parts of our home, in the bathrooms, along stairwells. Little things like that do make a difference. There are sort of like medical alert bracelets. There's medical alert activators that you can push a button and it calls a number, kind of like having a remote telephone. Those are available for people that live alone that might have fainting or seizure disorders that they can be notified.
Sure. All great tips for us today. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's always great to have you here. Hopefully we'll all be a little bit safer this winter. We know it's a great time to spend with the family. It can also be the most stressful time of the year, and hopefully during this show, we showed you some tips that you can use to stay healthy, happy, and safe. A big thanks to Dr. Garcia for joining us, and thank you for at home for helping us out. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, you can stay connected with us all week. All you have to do is tweet us. You can link to our Facebook page. You can add us to our the Google Plus circle. You can mail us, email at kwsutv@wsu.edu. We'd be happy to hear from you. Any way you want to get in touch with us, please send us your show ideas. We'd love to hear from you. If you missed any part of today's show, don't worry about that. All of it will be available online at our new nwptv.org. Next time on xConnect Northwest, we're going to discuss how the people and environment are recovering from this summer's Carlton Complex wildfire with Anna King from Northwest News Network. If you have questions for her, feel free to connect with us online. I'm Greg Mills. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on air and online.